Gourmet number 19, Gourmet Corp.
Well, hello, my brothers and sisters of the hungry Toriko Nerd Nation. I, as always, am Jim, here to bring you another review on the excellent and appetite-inducing tale of Toriko. I don't even know if I said that right, but that's just how it is. So, one take and we're done. But the last chapter saw us with really it kind of ramping up the puffer whale arc. We did, of course, see this this thing. I guess again I kind of referred to it as looked like an anteater, and it was definitely something that Coco and Toriko got pretty scared of because you know, Coco went into crazy ass like toxic poison mode. Toriko hulked up, you know, and this thing wound up just walking by him and leaving. The end of the chapter, though, it killed everybody outside, all the different assassins and such that were waiting to, you know, and thieves that were waiting to you know, steal from gourmet hunters that, of course, had captured puffer whales. And then we saw, someone from the, it looked like from the gourmet police, they said, you know, popping out some kind of badge or ID, and said, you know, wait, hold it right there, you know, kind of like a you're under arrest type of thing. So that's where the chapter left off. This chapter goes and picks up and really kind of starts us up into the next arc, which is the Regal Mammoth arc. And it starts up and we're actually back at IGO Gourmet headquarters, and we wind up seeing a number of different characters that are sitting around talking together. We've only been introduced to one of them thus far, so to tell you the truth, I am just going to, you know, as a matter of fact, I'm just going to hold off for a second here, and I will I'll let him explain it to you who these people are, because honestly I couldn't remember all their damn names. So
The following is a list of names that I could not remember during my review, so I recorded it in this snazzy narrator voiceover. IGO Bureau Chief, Uumen Umeda. IGO Administrative Chief, Win. IGO Financial Affairs Chief, Bull. IGO Public Relations Chief, Naloid. Wait, Naloid? Alright. IGO Legal Affairs Chief, Glass.
Oh, yes, okay. So, now that we've kind of laid that whole thing out over there, they're all sitting around and having this roundtable discussion, and the chief, Umeda, the head honcho, the guy, he starts talking about, so what's the damage? We wind up finding out that these things is called a GT robot or GT robo, and apparently they're remote controlled, I guess, because they couldn't tell who it was by, and they're talking about the damage to the different biotopes. The biotopes, if you remember correctly, are like they're sort of animal research preserves that they have various species and things like that in. And we had gone to Biotope number 8, I believe it was, during the Troll Kong for the rainbow fruit, and dealt with the Troll Kongs. So anyway, there was a few different things stolen from a couple of the different biotopes, and then they talk about the damage to Biotope 8 was particularly catastrophic. All of the rainbow fruit was taken and removed, and these things are like 900 kilos each, so they're heavy, right? They're not easy to move. And then we also go and find out that that the Troll Kongs themselves are pretty much all but wiped out. And this is all from this rival. I'm assuming this is like a rival corporation because they refer to it as the
Gourmet Corp. Duh.
Oh, okay, thank you. That's good. I didn't have to look that up then. So it winds up, you know, being that they're talking about the damage and assessing everything and what they're going to do, because they think that the next target is going to be in Biotope number 1, and they think it's going to be this ancient beast called the Regal Mammoth. So then they go and they say, you know what we're going to have to do? We're going to have to call in the 4 kings. So they go and they show this brief picture, and they show, you know, and we already know of Toriko, we know of Coco, and then we know of Zebra, sorry, and Sunny is the 4th one, I guess. So they're talking about them, how they're going to have to get them together and have them protect this Regal Mammoth. And they're like, yeah, but, you know, we're going to have to arrange Zebra to be released from prison. And they're talking about how he's unstable and this and that. And he's like, yeah, but you don't understand. This is bad news over here. You know, we got to, you know, desperate times call for desperate measures. So we're going to have to arrange his release. In the meantime, however, though, they have you know, commandeered or hired Toriko to go and I guess protect this Regal Mammoth until, in fact, they can get these four kings assembled and together, you know. So then we wind up going in, and it cuts to Toriko and Coco and Johannes, and they're all on I think it's like an IGO, like a helicopter or plane, and they're going towards this Biotope 1. Toriko, of course, is eating. He's making this giant mammoth, like Scooby-Doo and Shaggy-like burger. And anybody who's never seen Scooby-Doo, first of all, shame on you. But second of all, it's fine. If maybe you're in a different country, maybe Scooby-Doo's never aired there. Google Scooby and Shaggy, or Scooby and Shaggy pig out or eat or whatever, and they'll show different clips, I'm sure of. They were famous for making these giant sandwiches or burgers or what have you that were like twice the size of their torso, and somehow stretching or compressing them to fit in their mouth, or stretching their mouth to get around it. So Toriko is doing that, right? And he's got all this great stuff on there. He's actually got slices from that devil python on there, and he's got some of these special tomatoes that Coco gave him. And prior to that, there was a brief kind of I guess a flashback almost, where they were saying, kind of bidding farewell to each other, Coco and Komatsu and Toriko. But Coco's like, I have a feeling we're going to see each other sooner rather than later, and we already know they're bringing the four kings together anyway, so it's not exactly like a heartfelt goodbye. It's just kind of like, hey, you know. And Coco says to Komatsu, you know, I'm very glad that I met you, even though it was just on this short adventure, blah, blah, blah. But anyway, so back to Toriko and his big-ass Scooby-Doo burger. So he's talking about how he's got all this different stuff on there, and then he goes and he's like, now it's time to eat it, right? And Komatsu's like, there's no way he can do this. And Toriko doesn't even compress it down. He actually opens up his mouth and dislocates his jaw to get it around this thing, you know? Like a freaking alien. And Komatsu's just like, oh my god, I can't believe this guy. So then we wind up hearing a little bit about the actual Regal Mammoth, and really the Biotope is actually what it is. These biotopes that they have, I guess number 8 that they were in, you know, he says that, Toriko says, listen, Coco, or Komatsu, you got to remember that these are supposed to be like wildlife preserves, but they're not really. They call them these gardens or these facilities, but they're really more like, I mean, the one that they're going to, Biotope 1, is an island, right, with these peaks, these jagged peaks that go all around it, and you know, obviously to keep everything in, almost like a shield around it. They're 5,000 feet tall, which is a mile, and the inside of this preserve, this biotope, is 500,000 square kilometers, right? So roughly the size of Texas is what they say, and I like those descriptions because it gives me a visual, and I think, damn, Texas is pretty big, right? So clearly this is something that it's so big that IGO can't even really control it. They have several different species in there, and then they just kind of like let them go for the, you know, for science and research purposes, and let them, you know, mate and create new species or what have you, you know. But that's where they think that this is going to be the next area that's going to get hit. And Toriko even says, you know, because he was hired for this Regal Mammoth to protect it, he goes, but I feel like there's more than meets the eye there. It's not the whole story, right, Johannes? And Johannes is like, the director will, you know, will let you know, you know, like the commander or wherever that's there will let you know. You'll be briefed when we land there. And the only thing that it could reminded me of, the way the whole island was and everything, anybody who's ever seen the movie Jurassic Park, and if you haven't, again, like with the Scooby-Doo, shame on you. It's a good movie, a lot of fun. I particularly enjoy it because it has to do with dinosaurs, but that's besides the point. The point is that as they're flying in this IGO helicopter, and you see this island with these huge peaks coming up around it, and they're coming into this one station that you can get into, you know, from. It reminds me of the island from Jurassic Park, and I just hear the music in my head, the dun 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 dun. And I can't remember the exact tune, how it goes. You know, again, you'll have to probably look that up if you want to see. But that's all I could think of, you know, when they pulled into this huge wildlife preserve, right? So it's definitely very neat. We wind up then going and seeing in the last couple pages of the chapter is pretty funny. You wind up seeing this. Cuts to this director, the director of this biotope, you know, and he's like this big sort of crazy, like jar-headed type guy, you know. I guess you'd say, like, you know, one of those like, that's what he reminds me of anyway. And he's over and you see him and he's doing push-ups with this giant like striped cat on his back that looks like it weighs like 10 times his weight. Looks like it weighs a couple tons, right? A couple thousand pounds. And he's doing push-ups, and he's like, 9,998, 9,999. And he's doing like 10,000 push-ups with this thing on him. So anyway, somebody comes in, and they're like, Director Mansom. And he's like, did you call me handsome? And he goes, no, sir, I didn't. So he goes, you know, our guests have arrived, and you know, so obviously the coming of Toriko and Coco and Johannes, who just kind of stands around and takes them from place to place, I guess. But and then he says, okay, and he gets up and he says, all right, well, you know, break out all the good stuff, right? Because we're in a feast tonight. We're in a feast like kings tonight. And, you know, and then I guess, obviously, we'll get into the whole meat of the arc. Excuse me, I can't even talk today. The arc. Now, I personally, you know, and like I said, we were introduced a little bit to the kind of evil corporation over here. And I guess my chapter question is, for those of you that have read further along, as long as it's not too huge of a spoiler, is it kind of like, is IGO kind of... I want to know, is IGO like this big evil corporation and this other place is just this big evil corporation? It's basically just a bunch of heavyweights duking out. It's like Microsoft and Apple fighting all the time about stuff. Or is it kind of like, you know, IGO is trying to really, you know, keep things in check over here? Because even when they were talking back in the, about the biotopes getting hit and everything else, they also mentioned that, you know, the chief of the riot squad of the Gourmet Police, his name was Chief Thor. He was the guy that the GT Robo came upon and then he tried to stop in the last chapter. He was killed and slaughtered, and they were like, oh my god, that guy used to be a gourmet hunter and he's been on the force forever. So obviously these GT robots are nothing to be trifled with. But I guess my question, though, really is this just like two evil warring corporations, or is it, you know, supposed to be like we're supposed to believe that IGO is the good one that's for the betterment of the world, you know, that they're like the United Nations, just trying for peace and harmony everywhere, and, you know, and that this other, you know, corporation is like the evil, sort of like, you know, the Hitler or the dictatorship type of deal. So that's my question. If you could answer that without too many spoilers, feel free to leave it in the answer in the comments down below, and then of course feel free to hit the thumbs up, the like button if you're hungry or you think I deserve it or just because it's, you know, Monday. And subscribe if you haven't done so already. We look forward to catching all of you in the next Fun Nation.
Toriko says to eat, drink, and be merry, and also subscribe.